Poof, and then out of nowhere, the bro appeared, live and direct to you and near and dear to my heart. Let's get ready to start. It's Tuesday morning stream for February 27th. Thank you for joining me here this morning. Cosmic Steve in the stream here this morning. It's a very tasty stream this morning. The cheese stands alone. And if you're a piece of cheese, I hope you're having a great day. It's going to be a good one. Nice to see you here this morning. Good morning, amazing fans of Magic the Gathering who love the game as much as we do. I appreciate you for tuning in here this morning on the morning show. Those of you folks who like to crack open packs and shuffle up them stacks of Magic the Gathering cards. It's not too hard for you folks to join me here on the morning show each and every day, weekdays. Would you like to phone a friend, or would you just like to be a friend of Brody's here? We've got some interesting news for you folks who are tuning in today. Some pioneer news, right? Modern Monday, Tuesday, Pioneer. That's right. It's a Pioneer Tuesday. Bringing near and dear the stream. It's some Pioneer to discuss with you folks here today. Let's get a few things going while we get this stream rowing this morning. But before we do, let's just get warmed up this morning with a couple of AI generated magic cards. You know how it works. We've done this once before, but for those of you folks who are new to the show and tuning in, new channel watchers, viewers, members, let's go. If the card is playable any way whatsoever, we'll pass it, even if it's a little overcosted, even if it's got, a little overpowered mechanic to it. If it's functional and a magic card, by all measures of the term, we're going to pass it. You'll hear this sound. The sound of the ding. That's right. That's an okay thing, the sound of the ding. However, if the card's got any gibberish on it, any way whatsoever, if it's non-functional, it's got junk text on it, if it doesn't belong here for our viewing pleasure, we're going to fail it right now. We'll hear this sound. The sound of the buzzing, cousin. That's the noise that will make for the boys here tuning in on the show. Good morning, folks who like to talk about magic cards, card prices, and all that slices and dices. Morning gaming, Bob. I shuffle hard every day. Every day I'm shuffling hard. Nice to see you, Cosmic. Happy Tuesday. Volume is pretty low on the voice. Yeah, I'm going to have to make some adjustments here. It's just sort of the way it goes. When we change views, I know. Change views to give you the news. Things seem to turn in a little bit better. I'm going to have to adjust that. It's better now. Nice to see you, Bob. Glad to have you with us. All right, what do we got here for this field toil? It's toiling down the stream. Gently as we go. Merrily into the field toil. Field toil, instant speed, a black card. Not too bad. All right, let's see. Counter target spell. Ooh, playable but odd. I would agree. Starting out with counter target spell. Let's start out with a little sip of coffee here this morning because I haven't had one yet. Delicious. All right, here's a counter spell for black. For all you black players out there, counter target spell, the beginning of combat this turn, its controller draws 7 cards. Huh? Counter target spell at the beginning of combat this turn, its controller draws 7 cards. Very strange. You counter a spell post-combat. Yeah, you just counter it post-combat, then they don't get to draw cards. Okay, so if you counter a spell with black, there's got to be a downside, and I guess this is what it is. You don't want to be countering spells with black. I'd say it's a little bit overpowered, but nevertheless functional. It's fair, playable, but odd. Okay, let's give it a pass. OP, fair, Underpowered, non-functional junk text. Which way are we going to go with this one? I'm leaning towards fair. Counter your own zero cost pre-combat. Then draw 7. OP, let's give it the OP. You down with OPP? You know me. Bro D. Bringing you magic cards here this morning to feast on. Get a couple of scrumptious magic cards. Season this up with pepper and salt. Batter up. We're going to put this card on deck here. Let's cut to the cheese here. All right. What do we got next? Glissa, Sonic Seer. Sonic? Pasta La Vista. All right. 5/4, White Ranger can attack or block. Who's a White Ranger? All you Power Rangers fans out there, this card's definitely going to put the White Ranger in the timeout. When the White Ranger can attack or block, when Glissa Sonic Seer deals combat damage to a player, you may have it deal 13 damage to each creature. For 6 is a 5/4. I don't know about the White Ranger part, though. I guess if we get a crossover set between Power Rangers and Magic the Gathering, this might do it. Interesting. What are we going to do with this one? Give it a fair? All right. White Ranger can attack or block. It's even got a Power Ranger on the card. Excuse me, it does. There he is. Let's dare to be different. Let's give it a pass and see. Is it fair? OP. Let's give it a fair. Let's lead in with Bob's suggestion here. I'm going to take Bob's word for it. He says it's fair, and then 90% of people say it is too. It's 49%. And what's this card here? Sultan Stump Pies of Mauling. Oh, they're like tongue twisters these days, right? Tongue twisters. All right, the Sultan Stump Pies of Maling. 1 blue to activate this 4/4, and the 4/4 costs you a blue and 4 to play it. It's a human cleric. Tap it and pay a blue. Each player gains 1 life for each player that player controls. Ay, caramba. The only way this is going to work is if we have it's playable. If we have like an opposition agent effect in play, or perhaps an Emrakul, is kind of niche, but I guess. Morning, Dennis. Nice to see you here, buddy. Thanks for joining us here. Starting our day off right. Sultan Stump Eyes of Mailing. Oh, I gotta pass it because there are conditions in the game where you can take control of target player, but you're only going to gain 1 life at max. I don't know how many people are getting. It's underpowered, right? Let's give it the UP. It's UP. UP for me. This is a decent card. And then we get back to the mischievous Unskeletor. Definitely a pass. Good morning, y'all. All right, let's see here. Oh, trending is Watsy Staff is trending. Very nice. I saw the price of the collector booster boxes for Modern Horizons 3 yesterday. It works out to about 800 bucks Canadian. What a deal, eh? Cheap, cheap, cheap. I mean, there's so many products coming at us these days. What can you do? And now the price is just so high. It's just like you could sit these products out, but we can't sit out this card. This card says when Mischievous' Unsetter dies, change the base power of its color, then put an indestructible counter on target creature you control. Gibber. We're going to give it the Gibber. This card's gibberish? It is. All right. How's the volume coming in here this morning, Bob? Nice to see you. Can you hear me now? How's that? It's nice to see you folks who enjoy the game, who are tuning in just the same. We're talking Magic the Gathering stocks, a little bit of finance. We're talking about the cards that are making waves in the game here today. And the Sorin card. We're going to talk about Pioneer today. And why do pioneers usually have ugly wives? Because they settled. That's right. They settled. They settled for less. Those poor pioneers. Well, maybe they're pioneer players. Never mind, Brody. We've got a couple of interesting articles to bring to you here this morning. The first one that I really want to read is from yesterday. It's about this Pioneer deck that seems to be making a little bit of headlines, taking home the win in the PTQ. Let's take a look at it. Let's talk about it and let's find out what is a Rakdos Vampires deck and how does it work? Oh, what the heck! I'm going to be playing Pioneer in a tournament coming up on March the 16th. I'm going to be heading down to play with Dustin Cullahall in a trios event. So that should be kind of fun. Has anybody ever played in a trios event where you got like a team of folks behind you where you have to play as a team and you got to win games, get points? You may have a directional mic. Let's see here. No, it's not directional. It just well, he's right. It's a little slow. How's that? Is that any better, Bob? Perhaps I can spin this around and make it all better. Rakdos for Pioneer. Well, I was looking at the metagame over on top 8, and the metagame for top 8 seems to be filled with Arc-like Phoenix decks. That's the deck that seems to be the most popular. If we go to the MTG top 8 and we look at Pioneer, previously to this we had a lot of when you switch views it gets a lot better. I noticed that. I'm going to have to figure out how to fix that. It's like I'm miles away, right? Arc like Phoenix, reach out to me online. I'll do so. Got a busy day here today. I'm a tech guy. Are you a tech guy? Maybe you can help me with that. Yes. Maybe it's the settings on this other view. I'm going to have to check it. All right. So we're talking about Pioneer. We're talking about Murders at Karloff Manor. And we're going to be talking about this Sorin card that seems to be brought back from the grave. A card that got not a lot of attention until recently when it was used in the Pro Tour qualifier. And I'll tell you this, they had a party when they celebrated the win with this card. And you can always tell it's a party for gamers by the number of streamers at the party. We got a hidden MTG Meta Breaker sourced to $40 following the Pro Tour victory. This is the Sorin card, right? Magic Con has come and gone, and everything from the event has sparked discussion over the internet, whether it's a new cycle of free spells from Modern Horizons 3, Oak was returned to the standard format, and tons of incredible things that were unveiled this weekend. Of course, it does not stop at spoilers. Even the competitive events that occurred at Magic Con had surprising results. The standard 75K event for the Pro Tour invites was won by a 68 card deck, and the Pro Tour was won by a tribal deck. No one expected Rakdos Vampires to take down the Murders of Karloff Manor Pro Tour, but now that it has, there's some major price spikes happening in the second market. Here's the cards that are doing it. The Vein Ripper, ripping its way up price charts. The 6/5 Vampire Assassin costs 6 mana. It's quite expensive. But apparently we're not playing it for 6. No, not at all. I never play cards. Vein Ripper says ward sacrifice a creature, so it's got a decent ward cost, kind of a expensive ward cost. If you want to target this thing, you got to sack a creature, and it's got flying, and it's a 6/5, and whenever a creature dies, an opponent loses 2, and you gain 2. So this is like Blood Artist's big brother, right? Here's the deck list: Rakdos Vampires, Pioneer Challenge. Okay, we got 4 copies of the Vein Ripper. We got the Blood Tithe Harvester, Fable of the Mirror Breaker making another appearance, the Enchantment Preacher of Schism, Dust Legion Zealot, and more. Bitter Triumph and a few other cards that make up this. Is this the 68 card deck? It could be. Could be. But it turns out that the Blood Artist's older cousin is something a lot more than just a 6 mana flying 6/5. A creature with a devastating ward cost and an upgraded ability and an already popular card seems like a slam dunk for Commander, but with many thought this, few saw its hidden potential, allowing it to dominate Pioneer. Generally, 6 mana is way too much for a creature to impact these formats in a meaningful way, and that remains true for the Vein Ripper as it had a little help. Sorin, the Imperialist Bloodlord, happens to synergize very well with the Vein Ripper, and not only can this 3 mana Planeswalker cheat out the Ripper on turn 3, but Sorin can also grow it, giving it Death Touch, Lifelink, and making things even more ridiculous. Vein Ripper upgrades Sorin's second ability, essentially allowing it sacrifice Vampire to become not only a lightning bolt, but drain for an additional 2 damage as well. Strangely, Sorin Imperialist Bloodlord had a decent cards to cheat out in the past, Galta and Maven, and particularly the Deadly Candidate within a combo, essentially offering a 12/12 with an upside for 3 mana that said, if you did not get the combo with Sorin, Galta and Maven was basically uncastable in most decks. So let's take a look at Sorin here and on the price. Sorin the Imperialist Bloodlord. So this is the card that works well. It's only 3 mana to cast it. Now it's taken a spike up to $39. But it's this -3 ability, the legendary Sorin from Core 2020. So this is a card that's a few years old. It's a 1 black and 2 Planeswalker with 4 loyalty. I swore you said 68. I did. Yeah, the 75K tournament was taken down by a 68 card deck. You know what we call that in the game of Magic the Gathering? A ham sandwich. It was taken down by a ham sandwich. So Sorin the Bloodlord is up a bunch, and this is why, because it took down the Pro Tour for Murders of Karlov Manor. What a spike. Morning, Cardboard Splendor. Nice to see you. All right. What's the question there? Huckleberry Magic Hound in the stream here this morning? All right. Sorend. What? Watch your bums, bros. It's a Soren pun. I like it. Thank you for that. All right. To know Soren, this card is a friend of the Imperious Bloodlord. It's got 3 mana cost. It's a 4 loyalty planeswalker. It's mythic, and its -3 ability is the one that makes it so good with the big Ripper, right? And is that? I mean, we're talking about Sorens and we're talking about the Ripper. All right, -3, you may put a vampire card from your hand onto the battlefield. So you get the 6/5 onto the battlefield as early as turn 3. It's also Soren's also got this +1 ability. If he sticks around, not like you're going to be swinging through the 6/5. Target creature you control gains Death Touch and Lifelink until end of turn. If it's a vampire, it gets +1/+1 counter on it. So it gets bigger, up to 7/6 and then 8/7. And then another +1, you sack another vampire. When you do, Sorin deals 3 damage to any target, and you gain 3 life. So the synergy here is what is bringing this card up, up to the highest heights. So we got 4 Sorin the Bloodlord. We got the Vein Ripper. If you got a Sorin, you might have veins in your Rippers. This card here is 6/5 ward, sacrifice a creature for 6 mana. You get this out on turn 2 or turn 3, I think you're going to have a good time. Is there a mana boost in this? Is there like a dark ritual or anything that makes an extra little bit of mana for us? Dotsies. No, it doesn't look like we're making extra mana. We're just not ramping this out. We're just straight up playing it on turn 3 if we can. All right. So the Vein Ripper had a little bit of help. Sorin the Imperious Bloodlord happens to synergize well with it. And strangely, Sorin the Bloodlord had a decent card cheat out in the past, but now the Vein Ripper makes it pale in comparison. Vein Ripper, to compare, can not only be naturally cast in a Rakdos list, but its ward ability makes it more difficult to remove. In order to deal with the creature, most opponents will have to 2-for-1 themselves, and even wipe the boards, don't exile, can be a problem, as the Vein Ripper threatens a massive amount of life drain. Interesting. So the Vein Ripper, if you're going to wipe the board, it's going to deal you 2 for each thing that leaves and gain you a bunch of life. So it leaves your opponent on the opposite end of the stick. And while many people have overlooked how powerful this conversation was Channel Fireball took notice and dominated the Pro Tour with it. Congratulations for Magic the Gathering Seth Banfield for his second Pro Tour victory, and now the Spike. A big thing to note is with this Vein Ripper is that the time of writing this, the Spike still appears to be growing, and for that reason, this card could easily continue to increase in price further, even if this article has been released on the 26th. On the 22nd, the Vein Ripper was worth $7.50. And on February 26th, the Vein Ripper is now selling for $27. What an absurd spike. And this is why. If you're wondering why the Vein Ripper, your veins are bulging to know. This is why. There's even some outliers selling for $40 or more, and the massive spike in interest for the Vein Ripper seems quite real. People like to play black. Wow, sincerely an amazing spike. I love it when cards and new tech take down tournaments and it causes a shift in the metagame and boosts the price of Magic cards. It's even better when they're sitting in your collection, so don't overlook this. If somebody's looking to get your Sorin off you or your Vein Ripper, this is why. You might want to consider playing it. Seems okay. The Bloodlord, as many expect, will also be seeing a rise in price, while the Vein Ripper had some interest before the spike. Sorin's interest was much higher. This card has remained one of the best vampire tribal payoffs in Magic's 30-year history. Combine that with some heavy scarcity from only one printing, and before Rakdos Vampires took over Pioneer, Sorin was $14. Now it's pushing 40 and $30 or more common selling point. All right. So let's take a look at the chart on Sorin. Zoom, zoom. Oh yeah, look at him go. There's a spike if I ever seen one. So, a lot of times when we look at these charts, we say, okay, beware of false indicators, spikes that are not natural. If this is like due to some market manipulation, and we got like a straight up tick from going all the way from like the 7 to 12, what are we, just under $20? Now it's a natural 40, and this thing could keep going and rising in popularity. It seems okay. Is Vein Ripper a free sack outlet? Just tuned in. Vein Ripper is not. I don't believe it is. But let's go back. Let's go back and take a look at the Vein Ripper here, Murray. Nice to see you. Vein Ripper, flying ward, sacrifice a creature. Oh, it could be. Sort of. Actually, Murray. So how does that work? Can you just pay the ward cost over and over again, even though you're not going to target it? I think you can. Why not? Murray with the next level tech here. This seems like it sort of could be a free sack outlet. We're going to have to take a look at the ward mechanic to see how that works. Because if it is, say you want to just pay the ward cost over and over again to target it and then just don't target it, it could be a sack outlet unless you must target it. I think you can pay the ward cost just because. That remains to be seen. It's a good question. It could also be a sack outlet on top of being a 6/5 beater in the Vampire Tribal. So this Spike, Sorin the Bloodlord, and the Vein Ripper together taking down Pioneer definitely has pushed this up. I think Ward is opponents targeting only. Let's look it up. MTG Ward. It's an evergreen keyword ability in Strixhaven School of Mages. It's a triggered ability. Whenever a permanent with Ward becomes a target of a spell or an ability an opponent controls, counter it less than that player pays an additional cost. So it is right. It is an opponent. So it hot dice, so you're right. It doesn't quite do it. Don't think you pay it when you equip an aura. So you don't have to pay your it's only for opponents. Okay. Was that much closer to being even better? Holy smokes. All right, we got some clue card spiking, and this is interesting to see. The Suppressor Skyguard, we got this 2/4 Human Knight with flying whenever a player attacks. If that player has another opponent who isn't being attacked, prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to you this combat. It's got fog on it. All right, well, it was largely overlooked because of the chaos that was at MagicCon Chicago. The clue released last Friday. Man, is there a lot of releases that just came out. Good morning, Capsule. Good morning to you. Get a little breakfast. Nice to have you with us here. Hot Dice, Time Capsule, Cosmic, Mr. Murray Cooper, Cardboard Splendor. I find it amazing how many sets have been released. We're getting 3 sets of spoilers all at once, right? We've got spoilers from the 3 sets just in the last little while. It's a barrage, a plethora, and a barrage of spoilers lately. This type of year, I mean, it's February. It's just at the beginning of the year, just past Christmas, and Wizards is already hitting the printer hard. They're releasing sets of Magic the Gathering cards for higher prices. The conversion for a box of Modern Horizons 3 here in Canada is about $800 by the time you get it to your shelf. And I don't see anybody willing to pay the cheese. So we're talking about Clue being released last Friday. We've got spoilers already from the Fallout series. We got the Fallout set and we've got the Fallout series on Netflix that's got a spoiler out. And then we've also got more coming down the pipe by way of Outlaws of Thunder Junction. So it's just a barrage of products coming at you, and then we also got Modern Horizons 3 on the radar. I think I'm going to be sitting these out. I did get my bundles, by the way, Mr. Gaming Bob. Thank you for that. And Murray Cooper. I picked up the Lord of the Rings bundles. They were delivered yesterday. Opened some packs. Opened 2 of the bundles. Got a couple copies of the One Ring. One for me, one for Mrs. Alfonso. Now that I think is a deal. I think we're paying about $80 a bundle Canadian right now. The One Ring that's in it, some places are selling it for about $90. So I mean, if you can wait for the shipping, the cost of the bundle alone, pay for the One Ring. I'm gonna hold on to one Lord of the Rings bundle for long term because I think the future it'll be quite collectible. And if the price of the One Ring continues to do what we think it's going to do without a reprint anytime on the horizon, we're probably going to see a good bit of value in that bundle from now into the future. So with the Clue released last Friday, and more spoilers on the way. Suppressor Skyguard seems to be the card spiking the hardest of all the cards. This card's obviously meant for Commander, and its effect only applies in situations where more than one opponent is present. The Suppressor Skyguard makes it very difficult for opponents to deal with meaningful combat damage to you, unless they can point a creature towards their opponents. Suppressor Skyguard makes it so any combat damage you take is prevented. Even if opponents can get some creatures to swing you for your damage, the Skyguard forces them to split up their army, and at best, this stonewalls any attempt to threaten your life total. At worst, your opponents are forced to send some creatures in other directions. I'm a fan of the Clue edition. Even if it sucks as a product, it is a far healthier direction for Magic than the reprints and the power creep. They need to innovate like this. The One Ring blows my mind. I can't believe a card that came guaranteed in a bundle is $90. I know. It's crazy. That's why I ordered 3 bundles. And that was thanks to Gaming Bob. Because I was trying to figure out when I was gonna get a copy of the One Ring. Now I got 8 booster packs with the bundle as well. So like the bundle is darn near paid for itself by just getting the One Ring. Then you get 8 booster packs. I tried opening it. I tried opening 8 packs to see if I could hit an Orcish Bowmasters, but unfortunately I didn't. I did hit a Saruman, which seems like a fun commander to play. Where is this Saruman? Saruman. I can't spell. I hit a Saruman. He's a black, blue, white commander. He's Esper. So we're talking about card spiking. Do the Clue set. The Suppressor Skyguard. 2/4. Perhaps blue-white control will become good again. If a player attacks you, if that player has another opponent who isn't being attacked, prevent that damage. So they have to split up their attackers. Seems quite good. The Skyguard was valued about $5 when pre-orders first went live. The card has spiked quickly, and according to recent sales on TCG Player, this card is quickly pushing $20. Lonus, the genetic expert. Snake Elf Detective. What a tribe to be alive. This guy is a 1/2 for 3 mana, and it's got Evolve when a creature enters the battlefield. Under your control, if that creature has a greater power or toughness than this creature, put a 1/1 counter on it. Hope whenever one of those 1/1 counters are put on Lonus, investigate that many times. Whenever you sack a clue, put a 1/1 counter on another target creature you control. This is like, what does it remind me of? Tireless Tracker, but this is like not Tired Tracker. This is the excited Tracker. The genetics expert quickly identified as a commander powerhouse, going infinite with his card as a piece of cake because in multiple 2-card infinites being available for players to kill opponents with it. If 3 cards are in your taste, Lonus likely has a dozen of those. If you want to start with constructing these combos, there's an article about it, and just like all of our other topics today, Lonus is seeing a very explosive immediate price spike worth about $5 at release and $20. Cards to keep an eye on? All right, with all these massive reprints hitting the scene at the same time, we're likely to follow more as a result this weekend to reveal. And to finish things off, here are a few cards that we recommend keeping an eye on in the upcoming days. Preacher of the Schism. This card appears in the Vampire Tribal deck and won the Pro Tour and somewhat popular. Energy payoffs. Not only does it the science. All right, let's keep going. All right, and this is the 68 card deck that won the 500 player 75K. All right, 68 card deck and a convoluted combo deck wins the payoff. This is what we call a ham sandwich. I never bought one, never will. I just can't believe they won't completely blow out the value of it somehow. I'm skeptical, right? You're not doing it? Can't make the hot dice buy it. No way, no how. He ain't doing it. He's sitting firm, not going for it. Pro Tour Murders at Karloff Manor has finally concluded as Seth Manfield emerged victorious once again, and the Rakdos Vampires deck, which we just discussed earlier on, is made its way into first place. And interestingly, there was a massive 75K open standard event featuring 500 players, and this tournament wasn't a well-established archetype like Boros Convoke or Esper midrange that ended up winning everything. Instead, a 68 card ham sandwich card masterpiece with a rather convoluted infinite combo available. Before we go over that, let's talk about how the combo works. Nissa Resurgent Animus. This is a card I actually picked up recently, so this might be some good synergy to play in Commander because I like the landfall on Nissa. Nissa was expensive, and I was really skeptical to pick her up because I think she was around the $20 mark, and I thought, ugh, here's a card that might just fall from grace. All right. Sultai Ram. We got the Slogurk. Okay, Slogurk, the Overslime. Gurkin here this morning. Nissa the Animus, Aftermath Analyst, Urtai Resurrected, and Atraxa. We got the Celestis, Cut Down, bunch of removal, Go for the Throat, Memory Dulge, Splendid Reclamation, Terror Pride, Path to Peril, Jace the Perfected Mind, Ottawa the Soaring City, and a bunch of lands. 15 cards on the side, 36 lands, 2 Planeswalker, 6 Sorcery, 8 Instant, 2 artifacts, and 14 creature cards. The Overslime, say Slogurk the Overslime. Slogurk the Overslime, Slogurk the Overslime, Slogurk the Overslime. All right, on the surface, this deck looks like it has a ton of different things going on, but however, most of the cards in the deck help further the deck's game plan in some way. The game plan is what? Well, the entire core of this deck revolves around a specific group of lands from Streets of New Capenna, such as Riveteer's Outlook. Riveting card. Let's take a look at the Riveter. When Outlook enters the battlefield, sacrifice it. When you do, search your library for a basic swamp, mountain, or forest, put it onto the battlefield, tapped, then shuffle and gain 1 life. So the landfill, a common. It gives you landfall. This seems okay in a lands deck. This will allow you to search your library for basic lands and put them into play. I'm behind on the stream. 2x Brody speed sounds like an auctioneer. Can I get a $5 bid upon a $5 bid? Can I get a $10 10? Give me 10. Give me $10. Give me $10 on a $5 bid. Give me 15. All right, we're talking about Riveteer's Outlook, a cheap uncommon card that allows you to search your library, and rather than tapping for mana themselves, these lands get sacrificed, and when they enter the battlefield, they simply fix your mana by providing some basic land selection. For most decks, these lands are generally worse than other dual lands available in Standard, and after all, not only do you end up with a land that just taps for a single color mana, but also enters the battlefield tapped, and this is a big cost. But the fact that these lands go to the graveyard automatically is extremely important for letting this deck function. Both Aftermath Analyst and Splendid Reclamation become excellent ramp cards in conjunction with these lands. Do I have to consider this? When Aftermath Analyst enters the battlefield, mill 3. Sacrifice Aftermath Analyst. Return all land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. OMG, I'm putting this in the lands deck for Commander. I have to get it. And Splendid Reclamation. How splendid is this card? Let's take a look. Return all land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. This has got like the Mending of Dominaria ultimate put right on it for 4 mana. So you get multiple land call triggers. They become excellent ramp cards in conjunction with these lands, and getting to bring back a stew of lands that naturally go to the graveyard is quite strong. Then they trek again and give you even more lands. You get to gain a bunch of life in the process, which is a nice boon for a deck that's trying to buy enough time to execute a combo. And additionally, the Resurgent Animus works perfectly with these lands when you play Riveter's Outlook. For instance, you net a mana from Nissa, and then you net another mana when the basic land you search for enters the battlefield. So now you're up 2, and not only do you not even though you have only played 1 land from your hand, you have the opportunity to reveal cards from the top of your library until you hit an elf or an elemental. And the Aftermath Analyst ability will return a bunch of lands to play at once, and you can end up getting a boatload of mana to work with. Notably, Aftermath Analyst is an elf, so finding it during the course of the game isn't too tricky. We get to go and get maybe a Lotus Cobra in the Commander deck to go with this. Slogurk. When a land is put in the graveyard from anywhere, you get a 1/1 counter on them, or otherwise you remove 3, return them to your owner's hand, and if Slogurk leaves the battlefield, return up to 3 target land cards from your graveyard to your hand. So this card won 75 grand. All right, given the incredible mana advantage this deck is capable of having access to, it's imperative to address the 2 potential limiting factors that could otherwise hold this deck back. First, you need a strong way to help your lands stay alive to stabilize. Obviously, life gain from your lands helps to some extent, but you still need a way to keep the board clear against aggressive combo decks like Boros Convoke and such. This deck makes good use of the good mix of cheap removal spells and board wipes. Cut down, go for the rope, path, peril, terror, the tide. A bunch of immensely good board wipe spells that go well against go wide strategies. And the second limiting factor, far beyond the need to interact, is the need to have ways to utilize your mana advantage. Right off the bat, no cards help more in this regard than Memory Deluge. All right, Deluge, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the amount of mana you spent to cast this spell. Put 2 of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom in your library in a random order. So 4. Look at the top X cards of your library, X amount of mana spell. So you're going for 4. I guess if you flash it back, you go for 7. Memory Deluge is a decent 4 mana spell that can help you find your board wipes and ways to return lands to play, but its flashback ability is very useful in a deck like this. In addition to Deluge, Slogurk, the Overslime, can completely take over the game, and it's not uncommon to mill a ton of lands at once with Jace the Perfected Mind. Since simply a whack of opponents, simply whack the opponent for a ton of damage, even using Aftermath Analyst to bring back a ton of new Capenna sacrifice lands and help Slogurk get immensely bigger. You can even remove 3 counters to return it along with 3 lands from your graveyard to your hand, keeping the value engine flowing and going, protecting your large creature in this deck. Though Slogurk is more than just a value engine. So here's from value to combo. Here's the combo. The Perfected Mind. Until your next turn, the creature gets -3/0. Target player mills 3. Then if a card has 20, or more cards in it, you draw 3. Otherwise, you draw a card. Target player mills 3 times X cards. Where's the combo, Brody? In order to execute this combo in full, you need a lot of lands that will naturally go to the graveyard when you return them to play with the Aftermath Analyst. Clearly, this includes the Capenna Sacrifice lands, but it also includes the legendary channel lines like Tekanuma, the Abandoned Mire. Since you can use the legend rule to ensure you only keep 1 copy in play. The reason this is important is that the combo revolves around looping Aftermath Analyst with Nissa and in play and using Tekunuma. So you need a consistent stash of lands in your graveyard at all times. In order to execute this combo, you'll need a copy of Slogurk, Nissa the Aftermath Analyst, as well as a copy of Tekunuma in hand. All right, I believe it's something like Nissa, Slogurk on the battlefield, Tekunuma Specialist, and S&C sack lands from the yard, looping, milling with Tekunama, returning specialist, return sack lands, which get sacked and trigger Nissa and repeat. You loop it to mill your entire deck and make infinite mana with Nissa. Then you use Tekanama to loop Jace to deck your opponent. Oh boy. You sacrifice the analyst to return a bunch of lands from your graveyard to play. Each time a land enters the battlefield, not only do you net a mana from Nissa, each land goes to your graveyard from the battlefield. Slogart gets bigger. And if you can net enough mana from Nissa this way, going infinite is easy from here. From there, you discard Tekunama via channel to return Aftermath Analyst to your hand. Then remove the counters from Slogurk to return it to your hand. This will trigger Slogurk, letting you bring back Tekanama from your graveyard to your hand. Now you play Slogurk and Aftermath Analyst again, milling 3 more cards when an Analyst enters the battlefield. Sacrifice Analyst once again, generating more mana off Nissa. Then repeat these steps. The end result here is that you will have infinite mana to work with, and you will have milled the entire rest of your deck. Now you can return Slogurk to your hand again and again and bring back 3 copies Tekanama. That's a hard one for me to say. Tekanama. Channel one of them to get back Jace the Perfected Mind, and then maximize its X ability to mill the opponent. So minus X. So you can do 5 at a time of Jace the Perfected Mind. You maximize the X ability to mill your opponent between Slogurk and the copies of Tekanama. You can simply keep returning Jace and milling the opponent each until they have no cards in their deck, forcing them to lose via decking themselves when you pass the turn. So your strengths and weaknesses, we've got weak to graveyard hate. A simple piece of graveyard remover is gonna nerf this in the bud. I call him Slowjerk, far superior to Slogurk. Tak and Numa. Takanuma, thank you. Hey, Michael's here. Nice to see you, Mr. Superbacker. Great to have you on the show. We're talking about cards that are spiking because they've won big tournaments, including the Vein Ripper, Sorin, the Planeswalker winning the Pioneer Challenge, and this deck here that won the 75K with a 68 card deck. So the combo is an excellent feature for this deck to have, especially because most players going to the 75 standard open had no idea about its existence, and still this deck can win off Slogurk beats using Tracks of the Unifier, needing to go through all the loops described above. This is simply a decent card, decent deck here. There's some tech on it, so check it out. Hey, I like this mouse. Nice mouse. Takanuma. Ah, jeepers, leapers. All right. Good morning, everybody. Nice to have you here on the stream. It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday Pioneer here on the morning show. Let's check the mic. Make sure everything's working. Just all right. Good morning, friends, fans of the game, those who like to do the same as me. Get up and talk about Magic the Gathering cards. It's not too hard to join me here on the morning show. If you folks want to track the prices of Magic cards, you can go it alone, but you can get me to do it for you here. When we're looking at the prices of Magic cards, we're trying to get some fun in our collection and get a bit of value into our collection by trying to outsmart the market. We've got a list here since the last time you missed it. We've decided to list it. This is Brody's watch list. Time for work. Ciao. I like tech enema. Tech enema. I like tech enema. Check on that. All right, this is our watch list. But looking at the cards here, the cards that we added. Now I still got to add a few folks here. This is our Brody's watch list. Brody is pumping and talking about sponsorships here this morning. Brody's got a premium membership of MTG stock, so we're using to track the prices of Magic cards, and these are picks for cards that we want to track and keep a look on. So I'm just going to take a look here. Eldrazi Temple, one that added to the list, it's up 23%, and there's some spoilers from Modern Horizons three that I think are going to make that card pop. It's going to get a little bit more desirable. A card that was actually quite expensive once upon a time may see a resurgence in price. It's already up 23% in 7 days. So interesting card to keep an eye on. A couple of different versions of the Eldrazi Temple. Top of the list here this morning in the last 7 days. How are we doing? Comets, what do we got here? Comet the Stellar Pup is up from Infinity. Urabras from March of the Machine. Dust to Dust. Spelunking. Ooh, I like to see Spelunking is up 5%. Desert Nomads, Memory Jar, Yavimaya Hollow, Soul Devi. Excavation. That's the Moxman pick there. Power Leech from Antiquities. But the card, I did put out an article on Patreon talking about Eldrazi Temple, thanks to Dustin Cullahall, who mentioned Solid. Good to see y'all here. Solid to have you in the stream. Nice to have you with. All right. So this is our inventory watch list, just regular watch list. Let's take a look at some Card King interest. So these are the prices that are posted as by Card Kingdom, and that's different from the prices on the card pages themselves. So if you want to try and maybe get a sneak peek at this list, I'll roll it through Card Kingdom interest. These are cards that Card Kingdom has got a change in price on. All right. So I'm going to scroll this by for you to look at here in the morning show. We've got Thrumming Stone, Activated Immodane, the Pyrohound, Dream Shackle Gut, Blood on the Snow, Remote Island, Volatile Arsonist, 50% up, Demon Loathing, Blood Tithe Harvester, Gleaming Barrier, Foul Orchard. Cards are all up 30%. Card Kingdom interest. Okay, and what else have we got? We've got, where are we? I'm going to take a look at Rapid Riches. These are cards that were $1, that are now $1, that were less than $1. Endray's Forerunner now worth $1. Last Chance, Dominaria Remastered. That's a card that gets you next turn, if I'm not mistaken. Gilded Lotus is now worth $1. Smoldering Edge, Innistrad, Midnight Hunt, Lords to Plowshares, Conspiracy. These are all cards that were less than 25 cents and are now up to $1. If you want to make a couple of bucks real quick, this is cards that you can buy list on Card Kingdom. And we've also got, what are our underpriced cards? Rapid Rich, underpriced cards, inventory interest. Let's take a look at this here before we get moving. Taking Obeka. Okay. Oh, Obeka the Brew Chronology from the Secret Lair series. That's up a bunch, 5%. Holy smokes. So cards that have a higher market price than the average price could indicate a card is on low supply and being listed by sellers for too low since they don't realize how much the card is currently worth. So Obeka the Brew Chronologist, Simulacrum, Fungus, got a bit of a price disparity on there. Price of Progress, Rock Egg, Boom the Ruin Thief, Green Wrath of God Unlimited. We'll scroll this by so you folks take a look at some of these Card Kingdom interest. Pareto principle: 80% of work is done by 20% of the people, and potato principle: 80% of the French fries will be by 20% of the drive home. I like it. All right, you know what time it is. I hear it's time for a little bit of moving and shaking this morning, right? We got to have some pioneers in our life here this morning. I walks into a bar. He said, he orders a beer, and he says, "I just opened a pioneer business." I says, "So what do you actually do?" The bartender asks me, "I just told you," the guy replied, "I sell pioneering." Terrible jokes here. Modern money. Pioneer. And did you hear about the pioneer who headed west looking for gold? Didn't pan out, so he moved to Oregon. Anyone else here, Brody, getting a little low? Have to get closer. Brody getting low. Low on the stream. I'm gonna have to make some adjustments. Have to handle that. We got the Pioneer here this morning. Of course, we're not surprised. We've got a Sorin the Imperialist Bloodlord top of the morning. Time to tap your toes. Time to move your feet and get moved in your seat. It's Tuesday edition of the morning show. We're going to be talking Pioneer morning and back in the Pioneer. A couple of traveling west saw an old Native American spear pressed against the ground. They approached the man's eyes open widely. He said, "Large wagon, train, 50 wagons, lead cart, team of 5 horses." Man says, "How do you know?" He says, "They ran over me a half an hour." All right, let's take a look at the movie shakers list here. Pioneer, Modern Monday, Tuesday Pioneer. So Brody's going to be heading down Dustin Cullah Hall at a Pioneer Trios. It ran you down. That's right. All right. So, like what I said, I'm heading down south, play a Pioneer Trios event. I don't have a deck ready to go. I've been looking at the metagame, trying to. Oh, I'm gonna have a little sip of coffee with you folks here. This is like the best time of the day. So I'm gonna have to put a deck list together. I was looking at the metagame, excuse me, on MTG Top 8. I noticed that Arc-like Phoenix is a very popular deck. Lotus Field is pretty good too. And then just over the week, the advent of the new Vampires deck making waves by taking down Murders of Karlov Pro Tour qualifier and seeing the Sword Imperialist Bloodlord hit the bricks with the Vein Ripper. It's just a complete now that breaks everything. Well, I think it's good. Maybe Arc-like. Have an amazing day, everyone. I'm clocking in, clocking and talking and gathering stocking. Have a good one, Stefan. Nice to see you here, buddy. So the Bloodlord's up 13%. Is it going to go higher? Well, it could go. It's hard to say. Oh, this spike is legit. Rakdos Strange Pioneer playing it. I think, yes, Edgar Markov and a few commander decks. I think this is definitely a legit spike, so we know we're top of the list, and it's going to cause me to um, it's caused me to of my choices. Pioneer, Gonti's Aether Heart. All right, let's look at this. Energy making a comeback in some of energy making the comeback. Yes, it is. So let me just back up a second because there's more news about this. All right. MTG Fallout spoilers create infinite combos. So with the spoilers of Fallout coming out, there's some infinite combos with Dante's Aether Heart. Over the past few weeks, there's been absolutely bombarded with spoilers. Like I said, we've got more and more card sets coming out, and this is why some of the cards are spiking. So we're talking about infinite combos, spoiled, and the Gonti's Aether Heart, a card that's price. It hasn't seen any attraction since Kaladesh. Now back to your bulk from Kaladesh and dig it out because this card's now worth $10 and it could go higher. When an Aether Heart or an artifact enters the battlefield in control, you get double energy and you can pay, I think it's 6 or 8 energy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 energy and exile the card and take an extra turn. So let's just take a look here. Automated assembly line. Whenever one of our artifacts you control deal combat damage to the player, you get an energy. You can pay 3 to create an artifact. Thopter Spy Network. This is a bunch of cards that are all getting spoiled right now. Here it is here. Beyond the triggered ability, this card has an activated ability that create a 3/3 artifact token. And just like Whirler Quoso, come in handy to make a wide battlefield, generate infinite tokens with Gonti's Aether Heart and Decoction. So this card's another card that I Viking. All these old Kaladesh. It's amazing that we're getting like a throwback to energy and to Kaladesh. A lot of people said, you know what? Just burn your Kaladesh cards that make energy because they're never gonna reprint energy. Remember how broken energy was in standards? Do you think they can do that to modern? Hold my right? I see it. So some of these old Kaladesh cards, whenever it enters the battlefield under your control, you get energy. So now you can loop the energy and take extra turns with Gonti's Aether Heart. So all you have to do is make a single token, which net you 3 more energies total to make a token again, and repeat the process with enough energy in the chamber. You then pop Aether's Heart to take an extra turn and attack with all your tokens. So the Aether Heart, here's a card that's spiking in price. We haven't seen much love from Gonti Aether Heart in a long time. It was $10 for a short spell there. Now it's up to a natural $10. So we're going to be dusting off our. I opened a lot of Kaladesh. Very happy. I'll have to be digging through if there's some gems in there. So the Aether Heart is at $9.90 because we know the spoilers that are coming out combo well with it, and energy is resurging. Thassa, the dwelling. I like this card. 6-5 legend odd. She's moving up a few bucks, 8%. Indestructible 6-5 as long as blue is less than 5,000. Creature in the beginning of your end step, exile up to one creature you control, then turn to the battlefield under your control. Well, of course, Link card. Why not? This deep dwelling can dwelling deep, and then you can pay a blue and tap it. Exile a creature, then battlefield. I'm thinking simply because the blink ability. There's even things that you blink nowadays. Look at the nice Swift chart on this. It's a nice looking chart, nice and smooth, not too volatile. Steady uptick in price here for Thassa. Not too bad. The gods from Theros, the 5. I'm not surprised Standard has what are essentially legacy decks in the meta. R&D messed up lately. Playtesting happens. I have Korean print Gonti's Aether Heart. Nice. So my multiple Commander decks playing Thassa. I know it's Pioneer. That's another why this is spiking. Erebos is another God of the Dead, indestructible. Ocean of Black is less than 5. Is not. Your opponents can't gain life. A decent card. 5/7 for three colorless and black. You get Erebos from the Theros. And then there's this. So some gods moving price. I think probably Commander. I can't see Pioneer put prices of cards, but we'll have to a little bit to see why the gods are spiking. They're still around $14. Not a huge spike in price, but Mind's Dilation. This is a card from an older set. Eldritch. Whenever an opponent casts their first spell each turn, that player exiles a top card of their library. If it's a non-land card, you cast it without paying its mana cost. 7 mana. This enchantment. Holy smokes, expensive. How are we going to cast it? Where? Goodness gracious. 7 mana? What are you doing? It's got to be Commander that's pushing this. I can't see this being that great in Pioneer. It seems too slow. Chart on this. Let's see here. Come on now. Come on back. Come on back now. Move that chart. Thrasios, yeah, all command playing it. The 7 mana? I guess so. Doesn't make any sense to me why this card is moving up. I don't have any tech for it. Top of the morning, Brody, and everyone in the chat. Nice to see the coaches. Glad to have you with. Remember, when you're looking at when you're looking for magic cards.
Buy low, sell high, that's my motto. I may just quit my job at the power plant and become a full-time stock market guy.
Here's a card I think legit. The Ozlist. Holy Ozlist Victoria is up to $3. 1 mana artifact. Do this with good simply because it like lets you preserve your counter, right? If a creature you control leaves the battlefield and counters on it, put the counters on the Ozlist. At the beginning of combat on your if the Ozlist has counters on it, you may move all counters Ozlist onto target creature. I knew this was going to be good with like hardened scales or anything that makes counters. Brishgar. Anything that makes counters important. It's up to $40. Holy smokes. If you had bought this in and around the release of Victoria when $5, you'd have done pretty well. I'm gonna have to take it out and see if we still have any extra copies of the Ozlist. Yes, hardened scales playing modern. It's $40. That's a decent print from Ikoria, right? I like to see that. Something Eugene, the spirit dragon, the big Eugene. There's a time where Mono Green was playing a lot of ramp, and Ugin, the spirit dragon, and Big Eldrazi was a thing to play off of Mono Green Tron and a lot of ramp. We've also got Emrakul, the Promised Land, on the top of the movers and shakers, and Old Knock, the dragon, makes treasure. Couple of good creatures. The Planeswalker up 3%. Emrakul, the Promised Land, all Pioneer Bombs. Old Knock, 7 mana, 7, and Cryptolith Right. I want to see the $17 creatures. You all have tap and add a mana of any color. Well, that's pretty. From Shadows over a mana fixer, something that I would definitely play in Commander if I was playing Dorks and you fix your mana, maybe in a Fat deck, something that's playing multiple colors seems okay. And look at the chart on this. Ooh la la, very bullish looking chart here. Strixhaven for extra 1, Brothers War, and now pick up from Eldritch Moon. For those of you sitting on any old Eldritch Moon, this might be a time to revisit this card. Urtet, the Memnarch's playing Shatterfang, Hapatra of Poisons. I'm telling you, this Hapatra card, I think it's going to see more price movement. I do think the Hapatra, it's only $1. The $1.50, I think it's from Amonkhet, and I think a lot of people are sleeping on the card. It's definitely play in a bunch of decks that I've noticed. And the one -1 counter seems to be relevant. There's more ways to remove counters to get activation. Counter seems quite good, especially the one on Hapatra. And about $1, I might want to keep an eye on this card because at $1, it's too good to miss. I took it out of my buy list box because I've been seeing it appear on deck lists lately, and I am not so convinced that I think maybe I overlooked this card. I think it's better than what I thought it was. Got really good art on it. Whenever you put one of our -1/-1 counters on a creature, you get a 1/1 snake token with Death Touch. So it's a bit of a value and might end up being better than I anticipated. All right, that's the way we see the word today here, folks. Well, what's going on with Brody's microphone? I'm gonna have to check it. I'm gonna have to do a little bit of micro search. Thank you, folks, for joining me. It's been a quick one here, Tuesday, and joining me and getting ready to go on the morning stream. Appreciate each and every one of you, wherever you tuning in from. Have a good day out there. This is quite often the best part of my day. I've got to get moving here this morning. I've got a busy one. People showing up. We've got things to do, places to go, stuff to take care of. We've got to move that economy, and so can you. Right now, I'm just sitting out watching spoilers drop, and I'm waiting to see if there's anything that I'm going to pick up from these new sets. I'd rather pick up some reserve list cards with the prices, the way things are going, especially the Modern Horizons 3. I'm going to be sitting out a couple of sets. I've kind of made up my mind. I'm not touching any of the new products for the foreseeable future. The bundles from Lord of the Rings was a good pickup for me. Thanks for Gaming Bob for tipping me off. I finally got a copy of the One Ring. But it's Tuesday. It's February 27th, just about the end of the month. There's not a lot of it left. We've got one more day, and we'll do it all again tomorrow. So thanks for sending a little bit of love my way and meeting me here on the morning show. If you guys like tracking the prices of Magic cards, let me do it for you. I'm doing it each and every day on the morning. Trying to move it. Get up, have a little cup of coffee with you folks. Start my day off right. That's right. Brody's voice breaking up. It's we got some technical difficulty with the microphone. Dice, Michael Superbacker, nice to have you with us. Coaches in the house.